What's up, people? Hello and welcome back to another episode of British English Pod with me, Lewis. And this is a weekly video podcast where I speak about different topics every single week in kind of slow, clear British English, whilst trying to intentionally use different idioms, expressions, slang, and so on and so forth. And the last few weeks, I've been speaking about different topics. The first topic was practically me telling you my life story. And then the last couple were explaining different things related to the United Kingdom, British English, and British culture with food and then TV series. So I thought I'd change the topic this week and make it a little bit more personal while speaking about my current situation of being my own boss. Because for those of you who don't know, this year, 2025, has been the year where I'm trying to be very decisive. And I'm trying to make decisions and stick to my decision and stay consistent and, well, I suppose, try to achieve my goals, objectives, and dreams, because I'm a little bit of an ambitious person, but in recent years, let's say maybe I've been a little bit shy, timid, scared, lacking courage, and I didn't really want to make any big decisions. But new year, new me. So I've made the big decision to leave my former company and my former employer, which was Teachify, and go it solo, go on my own. And this is a new me, trying to balance everything, trying to maintain a work-life balance, set new routines and schedules and workflows. So I'm learning on the job and adapting to all of these changes as they are coming at me. So sometimes it's easy, other times it's tough. Sometimes you never know what's going to happen the next day. So it's perhaps not for everybody, but so far I am really enjoying it. I feel a lot of freedom and power to be able to make my own decisions. So that's a little bit of an introduction and a summary. And in this podcast, I'm going to speak about being your own boss, the advantages and disadvantages of it, how I've partly been my own boss in the last 6 years, give or take, and I'll tell you about how I make content, my routine, how I came to the decision of finally leaving Teachify and why, and then I'll explain how I would like my company and my future to be, because many things can happen. So many things are going to get in the way of progress and what I do. So I will have to adapt on multiple occasions. But in an ideal world, I'm going to tell you about basically what my job will be like. So let's get started with some advantages of being your own boss. So I think the biggest advantage of being your own boss is that you have the power to make your own decisions. What do I mean by that? Well, you can choose when you go on holiday. You can choose who you work with. You can choose on what projects you work. You can choose practically everything and anything. And I think this is empowering. If you are able to make your own decisions on when you work, how you work, who you work with, then you are without doubt going to feel a little bit more motivated and passionate about your job. And it is a rewarding feeling. So if you wake up and think, okay, I can choose what I do today, that feels so good compared to having someone or multiple people telling you what to do. and forcing you to do things when you don't want to do them. I'm not sure how happy you are in your current job. I was very happy in my last job, but there were still things that I had to do that I didn't enjoy doing. And I didn't mind this for quite a long time, but there came a time where I was like, I'm spending hours per week doing this, and I don't enjoy doing it. So what's the point? And that feeling was building and building for quite a long time before I got to breaking point, let's say, and I made the final decision of, nah, I want to be in control 100%. So that is the main advantage. There are other advantages, of course. One of them is that if you are your own boss, it is a much faster way to be able to earn more money. Now, this is not for everybody, of course. There are many, many, many business owners and entrepreneurs who will set up a company and it will fail. They might go bankrupt. So it's risky. Being an entrepreneur is a very, very risky thing to do. And you will have to overcome many, many challenges. But if you manage to get it right, you having your own business will bring in a lot more money than just being a manager or a director or a normal employee of a company. Because you are kind of going to have a salary and perhaps a bonus at the end of the year. So you know exactly how much money you're going to make every month. Whereas if you're an entrepreneur and you sign a new deal, bingo, you make a lot more money. If the company starts to grow, of course, the annual profits will be either to reinvest in the company or for you. So it's clear that being an entrepreneur is very dangerous, very risky, and it can go pear-shaped 100%. By the way, to go pear-shaped is to go badly. But if you are in the minority of business owners and people who actually make a success of it, there are so many things that you can gain as a result. And one of them is money, of course. So those are two of the main advantages, I think, of being your own boss. There are many, many more, but those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. So let's focus on some of the cons, some of the disadvantages, some of the drawbacks. And I already mentioned that if you are an employee, you know you're going to get a salary at the end of the month. And it's going to be usually always the same every month. And this does give you a nice stability to know, all right, I can pay my bills. I can pay the mortgage. I can pay rent. No worries at all. And this is an important thing, above all, for your mental health. So if you know, let's say every month you're going to earn 2,000 or 3,000 euros without doubt, it's much easier for people to manage their own finances. So you can think, okay, I spend 1,000 on rent, I spend 500 on food, so then I'm left with an extra, let's say 1,000 for other expenses and having fun and going out. And this is an important thing, especially whenever you have financial crises and when the world is not in a good place financially with different recessions. It is a relief to know that you're going to be all right and you're still going to keep earning money every single month. So that is a big, big, big pro of working for a company and not being an entrepreneur. Other advantages, I suppose, let's think. That's the main one, to be honest. Of course, depending on the type of job you have, you might absolutely love your job working for a big company. If you do work for big companies, yes, you can scale up and get promotion after promotion after promotion. And with that, you will take on more responsibilities and also get pay rises. And this is a more traditional way of, let's say, growing professionally and building up your salary, your reputation, and all of these things. So it's a good option. And at the same time, it means you have to do less paperwork. So I can't believe I forgot this, but this is one of the big downsides of being your own boss or being an entrepreneur, because you are in control and you are in charge of doing paperwork and doing your taxes. And I don't know where you're from, where you live, but here in Belgium, the taxes are very, very high. And I think that's the same in most countries. But here, taxes are very high. So in the end, you pay, let's say, 40% of what you earn in taxes, which is a little bit demoralizing. It's a little bit sad when you receive your gross salary and then you realize how much you're actually going to take home. And that is your net salary. So that's a little bit sad. And of course, if you are the entrepreneur, you have to manage all of this, unless you have a lot of money and then you get an accountant or professional to do it for you. But if you're working in the private sector or public sector as an employee, you don't really need to worry about this. You might have to do your tax, your income tax form at the end of the year, but that's about it. So you really don't have to do hardly any admin, which is definitely a positive thing, for sure. So those are some of the things that I can think of off the top of my head in terms of pros and cons of being both an entrepreneur and an employee. But let me know in the comments if you can think of any other positives or negatives. Now, let's continue and move on. And I teased at the fact that I've kind of been my own boss for the last 6 years. Since starting at Teachify, I have been registered as self-employed. I've been registered as a freelancer, as a freelance teacher. Just a little note there. Freelancer is the noun. I am a freelancer. Freelance without the R is an adjective. So I am a freelance teacher, freelance photographer, freelance accountant. So that's a common mistake that I hear. But yeah, with Teachify, from the beginning until when I left, I was registered as a freelancer. And basically, it was because I had a special role and I also had a few private students at the same time. And it just worked out better because in certain countries, it might be much more complicated to hire people as employees than it is to hire them as self-employed individuals. So that's the way we did it, which meant that I had to kind of get used to doing my own paperwork and keeping like receipts of different things that I bought. Let's say, for example, this microphone. If I buy it and I know it's related to what I do, then I can put it down as an expense for the company. So I already knew about these things. And I was a freelancer for Teachify because of my role and the fact that I had an annual profit sharing agreement. So I've kind of been a freelancer for quite a long time. And my mindset and mentality has been very much as a freelancer since then. And that feeling has just gone kind of from strength to strength, that I have felt like I love the idea of being an entrepreneur. And maybe I actually romanticize this idea because I make it seem like it's better than it actually is, because there are a lot of sad times and lonely moments that you might have if you are your own boss and you don't have a team. But for some reason, I still think that it's amazing. But yeah, I've been a freelancer for 6-7 years. So the transition from leaving that company to now was minimal because I was already kind of in charge of doing a lot of my own paperwork. So it was really no biggie to quit and set up my own company. which I haven't set up my own company. I am just working as a self-employed person. But some people, as their income grows, they might create their own company. So that might happen in the future, but who knows? But yeah, basically, I've been a freelancer for ages, for donkey's years. Now, during this time, these 6 years, and of course, during this time, there was also the pandemic and the lockdown. During the lockdown, I was living in Spain, in Seville. And yeah, I've lived a lot of things and seen Teachify grow and develop and evolve and adapt during this time. And I didn't really think about leaving the company up until a year ago, more or less, because I always saw that the company was growing and getting a little bit bigger. And I loved the concept of me growing with the company. So I could feel like we were going in the right direction at the same time. So I didn't think about leaving Teachify up until a year ago. And then this feeling started to grow and grow. And I think the main thing was, of course, creating my own content, growing on social media. It's a really great feeling when this happens. And when it doesn't happen, of course, it can be a little bit sad at the same time and depressing. But when I was seeing the numbers going up and up and up, and thinking about the amount of time that I was spending to create videos, edit videos, upload videos, and I was getting a return on all of this investment, I started to think, maybe if I spend more time doing this, I can really take my own company to the next level. And at the same time, I was less and less motivated with the other tasks that I did for Teachify. So these two things were occurring at precisely the same time, where I was thinking, okay, my personal brand is growing and growing, and I'm enjoying creating the material for myself. While at the same time, I was getting a little bit fed up of some of the things I was doing in my last job. And I was seeing that perhaps it wasn't growing as much as I personally thought I was growing by making my content. So there was a little bit of an imbalance here, where I thought that I was growing faster than the company. Now, this might sound a little bit big-headed. It might sound a little bit arrogant. And if it comes across that way, I apologize, but this is a very personal podcast. So I'm just telling you how I feel and how I felt. But yeah, if you think I'm big-headed, then please let me know. To be big-headed, by the way, is kind of to think you are a very important person. It's like when you are blowing your own trumpet. To blow your own trumpet is like to brag, to boast, to show off. And as a result, you might end up looking down on other people and feeling superior to them. But that's not me, I promise. I was just thinking about my own future and my own business, and I thought that maybe I'd be better and more independent and freer if I gave it a go and went alone and went solo. So that was basically why it happened, that I was enjoying my own content and my own business much more than I was enjoying my bread and butter, which was Teachify. And at the same time, I felt like I was growing more doing this type of the business, the English with Lewis business, than I was with the Teachify business. So yeah, that was why I decided to become a solopreneur this year. And I decided to create my own business. But in fact, I had started building some little things last year, because I remember discovering this website, which was really cheap, and it was a booking system. So for those of you who are not aware, on my website, englishwithlewis.com/classes, you can book group classes or private classes with me. If you've got any questions about that, feel free to send me an email or send me a message on any social network. But I was wondering, am I able to create a website? Because I'm not very good at technology. I'm not a very tech-savvy person. So this was a little bit daunting for me. It was a little bit intimidating for me because I didn't think I would be able to make a website. So I did some research. I was looking on YouTube and Google for different website providers. And you could see website providers like Wix. What else? I've forgotten the name of the most important one. So it's like, I can't remember. But there was Wix, there were other ones, and then there was Squarespace. And Squarespace seemed much easier for novices like me. So for people who had no idea about technology and programming, Squarespace was, let's say, the option for beginners. So I thought, all right, yeah, let's try. Let's make a website, just in case, for the future, because you never know when I might leave my company. So I made a website which was and is englishwithlewis.com, and it was hard. Even though I was using the website that supposedly makes it easy for you to create your own website, it wasn't easy. And I'm not very good at design, despite the fact that my sister is a graphic designer and my dad is a photographer. I don't really know colors, and I'm not very good at paying attention to detail. So when I was making my website, it just looked a little bit rubbish. And to this day, it still looks a little bit rubbish. But at some point in the future, maybe I'll hire someone to give it a bit of a facelift and make it look attractive. Let's see. Anything could happen. But with that website, I wasn't able to add a booking system. Or if I was able to add a booking system, it was going to charge me like 20 or 30 euros per month just to accept bookings. And I was like, nah, that's a ripoff. Of course, it would be a business expense. But in the back of my mind, I knew there had to be a cheaper alternative. So I was looking for different providers, going on different websites, watching lots of YouTube videos to try and find some cool places and inspiration. And I found one called TidyCal. And this is the booking system that I use today. So TidyCal is really good because I paid a lifetime subscription for like 30 euros. So I paid 30 euros once, and then I could add it to my website, accept bookings and payments through Stripe or PayPal, and then it was connected to my email and also to my Google Calendar. So I was like, yes, I found it. Come on, victory for Lewis. So when I got this set up on my website, this was another moment where I was thinking, oh, okay, yeah, interesting. That means I am a little bit more independent. That means I actually could teach my own students from all over the world whenever I want. And this was last summer when I did it. But I didn't advertise it yet because I was still making up my mind. I was still deciding what was going to be the best for my future. So I had my website, I started my newsletter, but I didn't really do anything with it. And I actually hid this part of my website to everybody because I didn't really have time to teach a lot of classes, and I wanted to announce it all at the same time. So if I was going to create my own business, I didn't want to do it half-heartedly. I wanted to do it going all in, 100%. So yeah, if anyone is interested in creating their own booking system, I would highly recommend TidyCal. It is the cheapest option on the market, and it's pretty good. Pretty good. So far, I'm very happy with it. And yeah, that was what I started doing. So I set up my website and I set up my newsletter. I set up my booking system. Everything was ready to go as I was getting a few more views on YouTube and, of course, on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. I already had a good following. So just thinking about it, I was like, okay, surely some people will want classes with me, because it never stopped being a risk. Like, I had no idea if anybody was going to book classes with me or not. Just from pure maths, I was thinking, come on, if I've got over 500,000 people who watch my videos, there must be like 1% of people who might be interested. And that would be absolutely out of this world. That would be incredible. So then I was like, well, even if it's 0.01%, that would still be amazing. So the element of risk at that point in my mind and in my brain was very low, because I was thinking, come on, if I can't get some private students, then who can? So that removed this element of insecurity and fear, because just from maths and from the number of people watching my videos, I was thinking there has to be 1% of people who might be interested. And if from the 1%, 0.1 book classes, then it is a success. So I did it. I became a solopreneur. You already know that anyway. So my current situation, let me tell you a little bit about what I'm doing right now with my routine and with my content and how I organize all of this, because I am so consistent. And this is my biggest strength when it comes to being a creator and business person, I guess, because I think you can always control the consistency. If you have objectives to post a video every day, a couple of videos on YouTube every week, then you can always, practically always, stick to this schedule. It just depends on you being hardworking and organized. So this is, in my opinion, the thing that I do best. But nevertheless, it means that perhaps the quality will dip at times. It will drop because I'm too focused on the consistency and uploading every day. But my way of thinking is that the more I post and the more I create, the better I will get at it. And then when the day comes that I actually have a lot of free time, I can try and increase the level of production and all of these things. So that's something that I'm very good at. And I post every single day on English with Lewis, and I try to post every day on my second channel for Spanish speakers, which is Inglés con Lewis. So it's a lot of work. Right now, I'm teaching my group classes from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock, Monday through to Wednesday. I'm just finishing off some classes that I'm teaching with Teachify until Easter in the morning. However, after Easter, I will completely leave and then open up perhaps some more availability for one-to-one classes or perhaps a couple of group classes in the morning. So right now, I'm busy in the morning with classes, maybe 4 classes every morning. And then I have my 3 hours of classes Monday through to Wednesday. And for me, this is quite a good balance. So in the middle of the day at the moment, that is my time when I'm brainstorming ideas for new videos. I'm going for a walk, going to a gym, making lunch, doing any normal things that people do. But the time to actually edit is usually done day by day. So when it comes to making videos, I'll try to make 7 videos, short videos per week on a Thursday or a Friday. Just that way, I know that I will have content to post every day. Even if I get sick or I end up being really busy, if I've pre-recorded once per week, then it's not the end of the world. Then, if I'm out and I think of a good video idea and my girlfriend is there with me, for example, I'll try to get her to record me, because these videos where I'm outside doing different things and that come to me in the moment usually do better, because the other videos are usually following a similar pattern of 5 English idioms, 5 phrasal verbs, maybe some slang, maybe some different British English ways to say simple words, and me acting out actions and emotions and stuff like that. So it's not too hard to think of ideas with the help of artificial intelligence or scrolling up and down and watching what other creators are doing, because I try never to copy other people's ideas, but I believe it's necessary to take inspiration from what other people do. So yeah, I record these videos once per week. With podcasts, for example, I try to get ahead and record 2 or 3 in the same day or 2. And as you can see, I never really edit these videos, so they're quite easy to record in a batch and schedule for weeks in advance, which helps a lot. And with the editing, I usually edit a video before I go to bed. I edit a video first thing in the morning when I'm on the toilet. If I'm watching a football match, I'll usually get my phone and I'll edit a video. So editing takes a long time, a very long time. And I use a great application called CapCut to do all of the editing. You didn't have to pay for it in the past, but in the last year, a lot of the features that I used to use, which were free, have become pro features. So now you have to pay for it, but it's not too expensive. It's not very pricey. So I don't mind paying for it. And the app makes editing very, very easy. I often mention the fact that I wish I had started my own YouTube channel 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but realistically, the technology to edit and stuff like that was so much more complicated for people who don't have an editing background. And that's probably one of the main reasons why I didn't start much sooner. Nowadays, with the advances in technology, it's become easier. And that's why you see so many people, so many English teachers on Instagram, because it's not that hard anymore. Now, the biggest obstacle that people have is just overcoming the fear and the embarrassment of getting their face out there and explaining stuff, which can be tough to overcome. But once you do it once, you start getting used to it. So yeah, that is my kind of content creation routine. And every day I try to go to the gym. I try to go for a walk. I do lots of different things. I do keep putting off the paperwork part. So for taxes and stuff like that, this is what I do when I really, really cannot keep delaying it and postponing it, because this is the bad part of being your own boss. It's got to be done. I don't enjoy doing it. I hope that my business does well in the future so I can hire somebody else to do it for me. But right now, that is not the case. So once every month or once every 3 months, I will have to do my taxes and my paperwork, which, it's painful. I hate it. It's horrible, but it's part of the job. Everything else, however, teaching, I love teaching people and I love getting to know people from all around the world because a lot of the time I'm not teaching them, they're actually teaching me. as they're explaining their culture, their religion, their travels, their job. So it's a beautiful job to have, to be an English language teacher, for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. So I love teaching people, and I love making content, and I love posting content and doing all of this stuff. The only thing I don't like is, well, if I have to do some things that are very technological that I'm not very good at, or taxes. The bane of my life. Now, looking ahead to the future, what are my goals and aims and predictions for English with Lewis? Well, I mentioned that one thing that I try to do all the time is stay consistent, and that is something that I'm going to continue doing, because in my mind, given that this is quite a competitive industry to be in, I have many competitors in terms of other English teachers. They might be much better than me, at explaining concepts, grammar, pronunciation, many different things. They probably have better editing skills than me as well. Maybe they actually go out and record more videos in the street, interviewing people. All of these things, they might be much better than me at doing. So all I can control is being consistent and continuing to provide content for you to hopefully improve your English and provide value to you whilst entertaining you. That's always what I try to do. And I like giving out as much free education and content as possible. So that's what I'm going to continue doing. I'm going to continue being as consistent as possible on both channels, with this podcast, with short videos, with you name it. I'm going to try to do it because I'm becoming a bit of a workaholic. A workaholic is someone who is addicted to work. You can also have a chocoholic, which is someone who is addicted to chocolate. And of course, an alcoholic, someone who is addicted to alcohol. But yeah, I'm a bit of a workaholic at the moment, and I'm going to continue to be consistent. I wrote down my goals for 2025, I believe, on like the 2nd or 3rd of January. And some of them were like numbers of followers that I wanted to hit. Others were things like filling my group classes, teaching interesting people, collaborating with brands that I actually believe in and like. Other random goals were like playing paddle, getting good at playing darts, having an amazing trip with my girlfriend. All of this stuff were parts of my 2025 goals. But for my own company, being a solopreneur, I'd like to continue growing on all platforms and have more people hopefully learning English with me. At the moment, I have 9 group classes per week, and I'd say that it's about 60 to 70% full, maybe 80, because it's 4 people in each group at the moment. In recent weeks, it's been on average 3 people maybe per group. So usually there's always room for 1 more person in every group. But when they start to fill, hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, they do start to fill up, I will open 1 or 2 more. And my idea of work-life balance is teaching more or less 15 group classes per week, or 12 group classes per week, and let's say 5 private classes. Anywhere up to 20 classes per week for me is perfect, because editing, recording, thinking of ideas, and doing paperwork takes up quite a long time as well. So that's my plan, hopefully, to continue growing and, of course, promoting my own classes, because this podcast, yes, it is to help you improve your listening skills and learn new vocabulary. But at the same time, I want to get the word out. I want people to know that they can book classes with me and they can join my group classes, where every week we speak about different topics, learn lots of idioms, phrasal verbs, we have a laugh, we correct some mistakes, and then everybody receives lots of additional content on the private WhatsApp community group as well. So again, if you'd like to join and be a part of my group classes, then reach out to me, send me a message, and you can book in the video description as well. So that is what I'd like to do in the future. And I don't want to hire anybody. I don't want to hire other teachers. There are other English influencers, let's say, who do this, and they have their own team of other teachers. But for me, I want to build my personal brand so that I am the person teaching these classes. Otherwise, what's the point? So I know I have a limit of the number of hours I can work per week, but I'd like to fill up these hours with as many students from around the world as possible. Then, once this begins to happen, I would love to create an online course, maybe related to business English or phrasal verbs or idioms that people could buy once and then continue to reuse. Other things that I would love to create is maybe a book or an audio book, because one fantastic way of improving your English is by reading and listening at the same time. So another idea I have in the back of my mind is to create a book of short stories based in the United Kingdom, teaching different British slang and vocabulary. And then people could buy the book or ebook for a very, very cheap price, and then also have access to the audiobook. So that's another thing that perhaps when I have more time, I might start working on. Let's see. And that's it, really. All I want to do in the long term is teach my 15, 20 hours per week, continue to make content as much as possible, have happy students who are part of the community of English with Lewis, and that's it, really. That is my aim for the future. I don't want to be a billionaire. I don't even want to be a millionaire. I'd like to earn what I'd call a dignant salary every single month, and earn enough to live in big cities where it's expensive, like Brussels, for example, and help people, educate people. I know that many, many people who are watching this video or listening to this audio won't be able to afford having classes with me. And I apologize if that is the case, but I need to look out for myself and my own business. And at the same time, I will always continue to give out so much free content that if you're organized and really motivated and you have great willpower, you will be able to improve your English and immerse yourself in English without paying absolutely anything. The group classes and private classes are for the people who would like to take it a step further and actually work on their speaking, because, again, people don't ask, do you understand English? Do you read English? No, they don't. They ask, do you speak English? And that's why it is necessary to practice speaking in order to improve your speaking. You can do this with friends, with family, with ChatGPT, with you name it, with other teachers as well, for sure. But yeah, this is something that I'm guilty of doing in French, where I consume a lot of content, but I don't get round to speaking it with people, apart from when I go to the supermarket and stuff like that. So you're not alone if you are guilty of not actually speaking, because I do the same thing. I haven't really got time, unfortunately. At least I haven't prioritized it. But if you are interested in practicing your speaking, then send me a message and it will be a pleasure to have you in my classes. And I think that is enough for today, because I've been ranting and speaking about myself, my business, my classes, being an entrepreneur for 45 minutes now, and that is plenty. But I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and if you found it useful, let me know. And if you are continuing to gain value from it, leave a 5-star review so more people can find it, and have an amazing day. So that's it from me. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Ta-ra. See you later. Ciao.